Hi everyone, this is Miss Griffith, and I am here for you today with a social emotional lesson. The purpose of this lesson is to go over and talk about when it is appropriate to talk with others and when it might be a better time to save your thoughts and talk with others maybe at a later time. So, if you would like to have a conversation with someone, it's important to think first, is now a good time to talk? It would be a good time to talk with someone if it's quiet. It would be a good time to talk with someone if they are not busy doing other things. It might be a good time to talk with someone if they're not already talking with another individual. It is not a good time to talk with someone if they are talking with another individual, so you wouldn't want to interrupt two people that are talking. If someone is busy doing something, doing work, doing dishes, doing things around the house, that might not be a good time to talk with someone right then and there. And in the classroom setting, if a teacher is talking, that might not be a good time to talk unless you request permission. So now that I have briefly went over some examples of when it is appropriate to talk with others and when it might be a better time to save that conversation for later, we are going to work through and sort through some examples or scenarios. And I am going to read the scenarios and then decide if it is a good time to talk right now or if it is a bad time. If it is a bad time to talk right now, I know that we can save that conversation or that question for a later time and date. The first example or the first the first scenario is: it is independent reading time in your class. Is this a good time to talk with your friend about their favorite video game? So, if you're in the classroom setting, it's independent reading time. Is it a good time to talk with your best friend about their favorite video game? I do not think that is a good time. If it is independent reading time in the classroom, that direction means that you should be reading to yourself. It should be very quiet, and it's not an appropriate time to have that conversation about your video game. That conversation is one that might be able to be had at recess or after school. So for this, during independent reading time talking, I'm going to put bad time. Our next scenario is: your teacher gives you directions to turn and talk with your partner about your work. Is this a good time to talk? So sometimes within the classroom setting, teachers will say, turn and talk to your shoulder partner, tell them about your work, tell them about how you solve that problem. And I'm asking, is this a good time to talk? If the teacher gives you directions to turn and talk, that is absolutely an okay time or a good time to talk with your partner. You are in the movie theater and a movie is playing. Is this a good time to ask your mom what she is making for dinner later? You're in a movie theater, you're watching a movie. Is it a good time to ask your mom what she's making for dinner later? I am going to say that this would be a bad time to talk when you're in a movie theater and a movie's playing. Everyone should be quiet so that those around you can listen to the movie. So I'm going to put this on a bad time. Maybe once the movie is over, you could then talk to your mom about what you would like for dinner or what she's going to make. A new student in your class is sitting alone on the swings at recess. Is this a good time to tell him your name and invite him to play? So if your class got a new student, that new student is sitting by himself at recess, Is it a good time to introduce yourself, tell them your name, and ask them to play with you? Absolutely. That is a good time to talk. Your grandma, who you do not get to see very often, is visiting. You are eating lunch with her. Is this a good time to talk with her? So maybe your grandma lives out of state and she came to visit you. You're eating lunch with her, just the two of you. Is it a good time to talk with her? Absolutely. You can talk with her in between your bites of food, especially if it's just the two of you. That would be a wonderful time to talk with her, especially if you don't get to see her very often. All right, and the next scenario, you just took a big bite of pizza. Is this a good time to talk about your favorite movie? This is a scenario that could be in a school setting or in the home setting. So if you're in the cafeteria at school, just took a big bite of pizza on Fridays, is it a good time to talk to your friend about your favorite movie? Or if you're sitting at the dining room table at home, your family got pizza, is it a good idea to talk to your mom or dad about your favorite movie? Well, if you have food in your mouth, it is not necessarily a good time to talk. You want to make sure that any food that you're eating is swallowed and your mouth is clear and empty before you begin having a conversation with someone. So for having food in your mouth, that's not a good time to talk. Your mom is on the phone with your dad while she is also cooking dinner. So your mom's multitasking. Is this a good time to ask her to help you find your favorite pajamas? Well, it seems to me that your mom is busy. She's talking on the phone, she's making dinner, and you asking her to help find your favorite pajamas, that might not be an emergency. So that could be a conversation that could wait, and you could ask her maybe when she hangs up off the phone or when she's done cooking dinner. So I'm going to put this as a bad time to talk. Maybe save that conversation for another time. All right, and our last scenario. You have a question on the math problem you are working on. You raise your hand and the teacher asks what she can help you with. Is this a good time to talk and ask her your question? So you're in the classroom setting, you're confused about a math problem. You raise your hand, the teacher calls on you. Is it okay or is it a good time to talk? Absolutely. It's important to note that in this scenario or in this example, the student raised their hand, and raising your hand is one way to get the attention of the teacher, and when she calls on you, that would be an appropriate or a good time to talk. All right, so to review, before you start a conversation with someone, you want to think, is this a good time to talk or is it maybe a bad time to talk? The good times to talk that we have put over on this side of the board, the scenarios that we've decided it would be an okay time to talk are if the teacher gives you directions to turn and talk with a partner, if a new student in your class is alone at recess, if you are visiting with your grandma, and if the teacher calls on you once your hand is raised. Now, the scenarios or examples that we put on this side of the board that are maybe not a good time to talk, maybe those conversations or questions can be saved for a later date, are if it's independent reading time in the classroom, if you are in a movie theater and the movie is playing, if you have your mouth full with a bite of pizza, and if your mom is busy multitasking or doing many things at one time. This was a quick little lesson on stopping and thinking before you start a conversation with everyone. Keep in mind that there are good times to talk and then there are bad times to talk that you might want to save that conversation for a later time. Thank you. Bye, guys.